Welcome to WNL Sports Weekly. I'm Jeremy Franklin. This week we'll speak with women's tennis coach Erin Ness, women's lacrosse captain Sammy Yates, and men's tennis captain Michal Holt. But first, a quick look back at the weekend in Washington in the athletics. Women's lacrosse upended two-time defending national champion Salisbury, taking down the Seagulls 9-8 at Wilson Field on Saturday. Later in the day, men's lacrosse suffered a 7-6 defeat to Franklin and Marshall. Both tennis teams picked up a trio of ODAC wins. The men beat Virginia Wesleyan and Emory and Henry at home and scored a road victory over Guilford, while the women's team blanked Hollins, the Marlins, and the Wasps in Lexington. With me in the studio is women's tennis coach Erin Ness. Erin, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jeremy.
I want to go back to the end of February at the Indoor National Championships in Indiana. The Generals suffered a 5-4 defeat to 7th-ranked Carnegie Mellon. You bounced back to beat Skidmore and Sewanee and finished 5th overall. What did that event tell you about your team's potential for this season?
I think that told us a lot about our potential for the year. It showed us that we are a top 10 team, that we belong in that elite group. I think if we had a couple points go our way with Carnegie, we end up winning that match 5-4. I mean, that's how close it was. And so to bounce back after that loss and defeat two highly ranked teams shows that we have a lot of resiliency and that we have nothing but great things to look forward to for the rest of the season.
Washington and Lee has a tremendous senior class. You've already got 3 All-Americans in that group. What have they meant to your program?
I mean, they've meant a lot to this program. I think they've really kept this program on the map. We've always had a history of success here, and they've just been able to continue that success. And to watch them grow over the last 4 years has really been, a privilege for me. And I think they've stepped up their leadership and they've stepped up the way they conduct themselves. And they're just great people. And that's why we're so successful this year, is because the 5 of them have really stepped up and are leading this team in the direction that we want it to go.
You've got 8 ranked opponents left on the regular season schedule. That includes the current top 3 in Division III, Johns Hopkins, Emory, and Williams. You've got a rematch with CMU in there as well. How will playing that kind of competition benefit WNL?
I think it greatly benefits us. I mean, our end of the year goal is to be ranked in the top 5 and to get to the quarterfinals of the NCAA tournament. So playing this competition will eventually help us reach that goal and for us to see how we stack up against the best teams in the nation. I mean, Emory is the defending national champion. Johns Hopkins is the ITA Indoor National Champion, and then Williams has won 5 in a row. So for us to go in there and to beat those teams, which I honestly believe we have the talent to do, shows us that we are capable of being one of those top 5 teams.
We've mentioned at least one of the Generals' goals for the rest of the year, but what are your expectations for Washington and Lee this spring?
I think I have high expectations because of the talent that we have. I know that we belong in that elite group, and I know that we can have a great season. But ultimately, overall, I want us to have a great year and to be able to look back on it and say, I have no regrets. And that's really our end goal.
Erin, thanks for joining us here. Best of luck the rest of the spring.
Great, thank you for having me.
I'm joined now by Sammy Yates, senior lacrosse captain from Ridgewood, New Jersey. Sammy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
What does Saturday's win over Salisbury mean to the team and to the program?
It was a huge win for us. We haven't beat them in over 10 years, certainly not when I've been here. And they're, 2-time defending national champions. And especially since from falling to F&M last weekend before that, we definitely needed this win to boost our confidence and show that we can compete out of conference this season. So we're definitely really pumped about beating them.
Washington and Lee graduated a terrific senior class last year. How have you and your teammates been able to fill that void both on and off the field?
There's no denying that we definitely graduated a huge senior class, bunch of starters in that group, and they were, significant players in the field. But we've tried to focus this season not on replacing them and filling a void, but more so building off of the high level of play we ended the season at last year. And, we've brought in a really good freshman class that's been strong all over the field, and everyone's kind of stepped up in their roles and, shared the leadership across the field. So we've just kind of been trying to get everyone to pull their weight in different positions, and we've switched people around, and we think we've done a pretty good job.
How strong is the WNL midfield this year?
Midfield's definitely really strong. We have switched things around a little bit. We pulled up Maggie Waxer, who was a low defender last year. She's a midi for us now, and she's been definitely a presence on the attacking end. And so I think, we've brought in a lot of freshman midfielders as well. So everyone's kind of getting their touches and learning how to work together, and we're working on transitioning, keeping us in running shape and everything. And it's definitely going to be a good year. We just lost one of our starting midfielders, Haley Suter, in our Salisbury game to a torn ACL, so that's something we're going to have to overcome, but I definitely think we have the skill to keep pushing forward.
The Generals were picked to win another ODAC championship this season. You'll have plenty of teams gunning for you, including a Randolph-Macon squad that gave you a scare in the conference semifinals last year. What are the keys to winning another conference championship?
Well, every year I've been here, at least, Coach O'Brien always says, we're going to have a target on our backs this season. We're not just going to win because it says Generals on our jersey, and things aren't going to be handed to us. And so we're just trying to follow the game plan for the year, take every game one game at a time, and don't look at certain games holding them over others, and just take the game plan one game at a time. And we're just going to have to step it up. And we're not seeing Roanoke this week, but other conference games are just as important. And yeah.
Sammy, thanks for joining us. Best of luck the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Here with me now is Michael Holt, junior tennis captain from Henrico, Virginia. Michael, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You've earned All-America honors in doubles each of the last 2 years with Taylor Shamshiri. You're now playing with Christopher Hu, and you guys are 9-2 on the season. How have you adjusted to playing with a new doubles partner?
Well, having played the last 2 seasons with Taylor, I knew that playing with a new partner this year would take some getting used to for sure. But honestly, Chris has made the transition as smooth as possible. He's an incredible player and a good friend of mine, which has made it easier to adjust. And I mean, we've been working really hard to be comfortable out there together on the court, so I'm hoping that we can have continued success this year.
Due to the weather and the compressed spring schedule, you've had to play a lot of your ODAC matches indoors and only to completion, meaning that a lot of singles matches don't get finished. Has that been tough for the team to deal with?
Well, obviously the more match play we can get, the better, so it has been a bit of a bummer to have some of those matches go unfinished. But at the same time, we realize that the majority of the teams in this area are dealing with the same conditions as we are, so we are just trying to make the best of the situation by adding in additional match play to practice, and that's really all we can do.
Washington and Lee has a lot of tough opponents coming up, starting with 17th ranked Mary Washington this weekend, running all the way through a trip to the NESCAC during spring break. How exciting is it to play that level of competition?
It is very exciting to play that level of competition. We put in all the hard work that we do to be ready for those tough matches, and we use them as measuring sticks to kind of see where we are as a team currently and where we need to go to be able to compete in NCAAs at the end of the year.
What can Washington and Lee accomplish in 2015?
Well, right now we're dealing with a few injuries, but I think that if we can get healthy and stay healthy, then we will be able to compete with a lot of the top tier teams come NCAA time. And I think as the season progresses, we'll get stronger and stronger. So I think it'll be a good year for the Generals.
Michael, thank you for joining us. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me.
It's time now for a look at the upcoming weekend. 2 Generals have qualified for the NCAA Division III Indoor Track and Field Championship this weekend in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. For the second straight year, Dana Lee will compete for the women in the long jump, while Ian McDonald will represent the men's team in the mile. Both tennis teams will meet Randolph-Macon and Mary Washington on the road. The men will start in Ashland and head to Fredericksburg, while the women's team travels the other way on I-95. Baseball will also visit Randolph-Macon for an ODAC doubleheader. Back in Lexington, women's lacrosse plays host to St. Mary's, and the men will face Randolph at Wilson Field. For WNL Sports Weekly, I'm Jeremy Franklin. Thanks for watching.